Hello, good morning, and welcome to the first Reload webinar of 2024. Today, we will be talking about 10 electric charging trends, and of course, we are very happy to have you on board. We have three reloaders who will present some quite extensive information with you, namely Raf Seeldraaiers, our business development lead, our CEO, Dimitri van Haveren, and of course, our COO, Nicolas Grean, who will also moderate the webinar today. Questions are allowed. We will group them together by the end of the presentation, and we will be happy to give an appropriate answer via the public chat or live in the couple of last minutes of the webinar. I am happy to give you the stage to Raf Seeldraaiers.
Thank you, Cedric, for the introduction. We at Reeload are a contractor in fast charging infrastructure with a lot of in-house experience in high and medium voltage and corresponding high power projects. We focus on fast and smart charging solutions in the Benelux and France. We typically work for charge point operators, investors, developers, and we do this at locations such as logistics hubs, marine ports, bus and truck depots, and retail. As a contractor, we have the certification for different brands and of fast charging and closely follow the market for novelties. I would now like to hand over the word to Dimitri, who will take you through 10 electric charging trends during this webinar.
Hi, and a very warm welcome from my side as well. I'm Dimitri. I'm one of the founders of Reeload. And before we start, let me briefly introduce you some abbreviations who will come back in the course of our presentation. First of all, if we say BEV, we mean, of course, battery electric vehicles, which are full electric vehicles. PBEV means plug-in hybrids, and HEV means just a hybrid vehicle which you can charge with charge infrastructure. So now you know everything about electric type of vehicles. So not, of course, what is the market expecting from us? We are living in a world where electrification goes very fast. The next slide is showing us exactly where we are and where we are going to. We are producing enough energy. That's certainly not the issue these days. The part that is electrical, renewable or not, will increase a lot due to the fact that we are in a transition of going electric. The advantage is that we'll need less energy due to the fact that our energy efficiency is also improving, and that we are also investing in the world in a lot of renewable energies these days. But what about our energy profile? Each company has its own, and the goal is, of course, to flatten the line to prevent peaks on the grid. As shown in the graph on the screen, you will see by adding PV or smart charging, V2G, or even batteries, we can flatten that line, which are all features that we can implement these days, and that will make sure that future blackouts will be prevented. But are we doing well in Belgium in terms of charge infrastructure? Let me first give you a bit of insight on the targets we have via the next graph. You see a pessimistic and an optimistic situation in terms of how many vehicles we will have in the coming years. For example, by 2026, we'll have around 1 million full electric cars on the roads. And by 2030, that figure will even be around 2 million, and that's even a pessimistic estimation. The same goes for electric trucks. By 2025, around 3,000 of all trucks will be fully electric. By 2030, that's even 30,000, which is quite of a challenge, I think. The key question here is, will we be able to charge all these cars and trucks? As not everybody has the opportunity to charge at home or to have enough capacity in their company. As a contractor, the answer I must say is yes. Europe says you need one charge point per 10 cars. Now these days in Belgium we have around 50,000 plugs and around 140,000 chargers for that. You can see that in the right graph. You see how many fully electric cars we have, and you also see that the curve is quite exponential in terms of new electric trucks that are coming onto our roads. Must say that not all regions are on track in terms of charge infrastructure, as you can see in the graph on the screen as well. And if we look to the Walloon part, there is still some work to do. In the graph, we are also noticing on the left hand of the screen that DC fast charging rises up exponentially as well. Another positive thing is that government incentives like European regulations, AFIR, and the deal with CO2 emission reduction on truck charging will help us to scale this market enormous. But enough about figures and facts. As I promised, I was going to give you a high-level background on 10 charge infrastructure trends. So one of the question marks is, will there be enough energy to charge all these electric vehicles? In order to prevent peaks on the grid, as said before, but also to prevent future blackouts. There is need for innovation, that's for sure. We don't have time to go in fully depth on every trend, but if you have any questions, please, as notified by Cedric, put them in the chat and we can tweet them afterwards or even in a private session. But one of the first trends I want to highlight, and it's quite easy one, is to keep your grid connection as low as possible and prevent a lot of blocked power. As you can see in the screen, we could do this in several ways. As a contractor, we already installed several charge systems, smart charge systems, who have the feature to distribute the power in a smart way. So the key here is just not to block too much unused power. The first example could be if we have charging systems of 75 kilowatt and you charge a car of 40 kilowatt, then you lose 35 kilowatt of power, which is blocked because you have a static plug of 75 kilowatt. In a smart way of thinking, you can spread that load over several satellite chargers in blocks of 25, 30, or 40 kilowatt, which makes it more efficient and leads in the end to a smaller grid connection and also to a lower cost because the grid connection is smaller. Next one up, and also what I always say is don't work harder, but work smarter. We need to make sure that all energy generators, consumers, storage systems are talking to each other. Charge whenever there is energy. When you produce enough renewable energy or when your battery is full are just a few examples. Energy management systems will be a standard practice in the future companies who are electrifying. But we're not there yet. For example, there's a lot of interaction needed between building management systems, between charge point operators, between charge card providers, energy management suppliers, and so on. So you can imagine that this will take some effort to streamline this and to make sure that all cabling is installed by a competent contractor like us, of course. Just to make sure that all those equipment is connected to each other and can start speaking to each other. Furthermore, price transparency. Something about this, in the near future, prices should be publicly displayed on a totem like you can see on the screen in the back. And that's not just a wish, it will be a demand by the European regulation. Also, the customer just wants to know what they're paying per kilowatt hour, likewise to when you're putting gasoline in your car. So that will be in the near future. And I saw there was a question coming in, and later on we will treat those questions, of course. But that will just a common practice. And what about vehicle to grid? It's important, as said, that energy generators or users are talking the same language. That's for sure. V2G or vehicle to grid is a nice example of charge your car or truck during the day and discharge it during the night. First of all, again, to prevent peaks on the grid, but also to be self-sufficient in your energy. Artificial intelligence will play an important role in this trend. And with artificial intelligence, the logic will find patterns in your daily habits and can adapt its logic to this. This will lead to the use of your energy in a more efficient way. Buy energy when prices are low and use energy from your battery when prices are high, are just a few examples of this. Long story short, a feature that will be needed in the near future. Important side note is, of course, that O&M car suppliers need to have this V2G feature. Also, the chargers need to have the V2G feature, which is in many cases these days just already foreseen. It's V2G ready. So that will not be the biggest challenge, I think. But the biggest challenge is the government policy, which will block us for now on implementing features like this, as all governments are not speaking the same language these days. Next one up, charging as a service. It's a comprehensive turnkey solution that provides EV charging equipment, installation software, maintenance, and driver support under a predictable monthly payment. Just to highlight what it is. And it results in an upfront cost, flexibility for the client, a lower risk, and always use the latest technology updates. So for sure, the client only needs to focus on his logistics and not being worried about is this charging operational or not. Plug and play is a new way to charge your car where authorization is done automatically by connecting the cable to your vehicle and the charger. Authorization via charge card or app will not longer be necessary. If plug and charge is available from your vehicle and activated, simply connect the cable from the plug into the compatible charging station, of course, and you can start charging automatically. The only thing that you will need to do, and what you always will need to do, is, of course, pay, which will go automatically as well. Probably you will say that the next one is not really a trend. And maybe you're right. It's not a trend, but rather a warning. Where people a few years ago were having range anxiety, so the fear of getting from the one charger to the other, we are now evolving more and more to charge anxiety. Being afraid of, is the charge station available, and more important, is it working? We will see more and more electric vehicles, vans, trucks, buses, maybe airplanes in the future on the streets or in the air then. It is therefore of the utmost importance that these can be charged optimally and that the charging points are available. So believe me when I say, as a contractor doing installation and maintenance does matter. But also from a circularity way of thinking, this plays a role here, because we absolutely must avoid creating an enormous electronic waste mountain of chargers who are installed and not working, which our children cannot oversee. And that's something we need to avoid for sure as well. Keep charging stations free. And that comes along maybe a bit with the charge anxiety. It's already possible to penalize charge station stickers by charging by minute after the car or the truck is fully charged. But planning and reservation tools will make a strong advance in the coming year, just to make sure your charge anxiety will disappear in time. So no worries for that. That's something the coming years will rise up big time. Next one up, and I think that the last two trends are coming a bit together as well, is market consolidation. We are operating in a growing market, which is growing very rapidly. This will lead to a lot of merge and acquisitions of suppliers, charge point operators, installers, and that's not only to take market. Of course, that's a very important item, to take market in this very fast growing market. But yeah, a lot of people will also need to fight against the bigger players in the market. And of course, the power of Asia. And that's my last trend. Referring to the previous, I just want to highlight you these figures who are speaking for themselves. The sale in China in a total of 8.5 million electric vehicles in the world, it's around 5 million alone for China. So I think these figures are speaking for themselves. Also, the growth year over year and month over month in China is bigger than elsewhere in the world. And unfortunately, they are not only the biggest player in terms of electric cars, but they also have the biggest production plants of batteries. So logically, it won't take long before also charging equipment will come our way. So I think that's also a trend that's coming and something that we need to be, as European companies, be aware of. So unfortunately, we are at the end of my presentation about charge infrastructure trends. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'll hand over the parole to Nicola. So once more, thanks for your time, and no thanks for mine.
Thank you, Dimitri, for your inspiring session. When he is on fire and talking about his passion and, of course, focus of Reeload, we always see the passion dripping off the screen. I'm now asking on stage Nicola, COO and co-founder of Reeload.
Hi, everybody. Good to have you here. We received a few questions. So I will go over them. We had a question from Jan. Thank you for that. About energy efficiency. Yes, because of energy efficiency, we will require less energy. However, because we are also phasing out fossil energy, we will need more electrical energy, and that comes with a challenge. So it's clear that in the next years and even decennia, we will need a lot more electrical energy and preferably renewable, of course, to cope with population increase. We also had a question from Patrick. In which segment do you see the demand for V2G? Yeah, first of all, V2G, vehicle to grids, it's really nothing that is ready as of today. It will take at least a few more years, maybe more, before everything is set in place to inject energy from your car to the grid. Mainly because of grid operators who are not ready for that. They're really anxious about the quality of energy that is injected. At the same time, it also requires policies that are harmonized at preferably European level. So we're not there yet. From a technical point of view, we are a contractor. We look at it mostly from techniques. What is important to us, what makes sense, is that the car, be it private, be it a company car, that it's charged by solar energy during the day, and that it helps sustain the grid in the evening, for example, from home, or that it will help to supply your home consumption. So it can be both company or private cars. We also had a question from Anthony, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, who was asking about payment methods and the advantages of a dynamic QR code versus the real payment card readers. Both have advantages and disadvantages. Card readers typically are more expensive, take more volume, so it's more difficult to integrate in a normal chargers and an AC charger. But a payment card reader is more user-friendly. And from a European point of view, regulation will impose the payment card readers for all chargers above 50 kilowatts. So I hope that answers the question. I see that there's one more question from Patrick. How do you see the future use of storage batteries to counter the need of energy on peak moments? The future is the present. So we see that in neighboring countries like the Netherlands, many of logistic locations requiring charging power do not get it from the operators. And so they basically don't have other options today than to install storage batteries that are being buffered by night and that can then supply the peak powers for truck charging during the day. For Belgium, for now, we see that in most of the projects where we act as a contractor, we see that usually our clients still get the power that they need, but Elia is already signaling difficulties in a few Belgian provinces. So we will go through same situations as in the Netherlands. That's pretty clear. So I don't know if there's other questions from the audience. I will wait another minute. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it, that you got inspired by the trends. I can also say that in the rest of the year, We will bring more content. We will bring more webinars to you. So keep following us on the social media. Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, you can also send any questions you may have after the webinar. You see our contact details here. Okay, thank you all. Have a good day. Have a good lunch, and see you soon.